Welcome into SportsSource.tv. This is our overtime segment. I am joined by David Ligon, Sterling Hinton, Bobby Scott right here. I've somehow lost my page. Now I found it. There we go. Blue Smoke Cigar brings you this segment. You see that right there on the monitor. They are holding a Christmas event this Thursday at 5 p.m. That means it's a great time to buy a membership in their club there. They get the leather seating, the HD TVs, lockers for your own smokes. It's a cool place to go. But if you buy a membership to their club, members this week on their Christmas event on Thursday, they get 25% off all in-stock cigars, sticks. So 25% off if you're a member. You got to get the membership. Also, great place to swing by and just pick up cigars, humidors, cutters, lighters, ashtrays for the cigar enjoyer in your life for Christmas. So Blue Smoke Cigar. Get out there, check them out. They're South Peters Road, between the South Peters Road and Rafferty's. You'll see their sign. It's really a cool place. All right, gentlemen, I was just vamping there. Did I get your names right? The other day on Saturday, our Fox show, I was talking. Before the show, we were sitting here talking about Lance Thompson. Lance Thompson. There's something going on with Lance Thompson. Yeah. We go into it, and I introduced LaMarcus Thompson as Lance Thompson. I just go right through former VFL Lance Thompson right here, and I go right, and everybody starts laughing. I'm like, what? What did I say? So, I'm glad I got your names right. We didn't get a chance just to open it up to you guys on your thoughts on the hire. Where are you on the hire of Jeremy Pruitt?
Well, I'm at the place where I know Coach Fulmer is a football guy. He's a Tennessee guy, and he was involved with it. So if Coach Fulmer says Pruitt can do it, Pruitt can do it. That's where I'm at.
Now, they could have hired me. And you would have been positive.
But I don't think if Coach Fulmer would have hired you.
No, I don't think he would have been. My point. Go that far. If they'd have hired Joe Blow, you would have been behind it.
No, I'm behind the fact that Coach Fulmer, it was a guy who I respect, and is a football guy and a Tennessee guy. He's thoroughly involved inside the search, and him being behind the pick, I'm supporting it.
Bobby, you kind of said that during the show as well. The Fulmer thing makes it an easier hire to accept for you.
For sure. And, like I said, when you're sitting there and all this stuff that has gone on for like the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah, madness.
I mean, it was just chaos. And then all of a sudden, you hire Phillip Fulmer as the athletic director, and everything just goes calm in about 20 minutes. Yeah. And everybody has confidence in Phillip. And, he's, as long as he's making decisions, I know that he's doing what is in his heart, the right thing to do.
All right. Now, you played with Phillip Fulmer. He was a position coach when you were there. He was your head coach, David. Your thoughts on the Jeremy Pruitt hire? We talked a little bit before, and you barely got into it in the show. You sounded like a guy who's okay with the hire.
Yeah.
You just don't want to put all your chips in the table again. You've done it too many times.
I have done it a couple too many times. When I watched the press conference and we discussed, before the show, I mean, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. But you're still going to have a positive feeling or a negative feeling coming out of it. I really wasn't super impressed. I'm not saying I didn't like him. I'm just saying, I didn't get those fuzzy feelings I did when eloquent Derek Dooley stood up there, or Butch Jones talking about it's his dream job. I mean, you get fired up for that stuff. So I'm thinking, me being done, that's probably a good sign. So at the end of the day, though, talking about Coach Fulmer making these decisions, we've been privy to be around him and see his processes of leading a team and bringing coaches and coordinators on and seeing the success there. So that lends faith to saying, well, he's chosen a good coach, and that's what I'm going to hope for and back the guy, cheer for him, and cheer for the team. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to say, hey, at this point, after a decade of disaster, I just want to see the guy go prove himself on the field, and that's what he talked about, and I did like that. So he's a football coach, the guy you had in high school. He was a high school coach, and I like that stuff. But from a standpoint of him being a Shakespearean guy up there quoting and talking, that's just not him. That's okay.
The reality is anybody you hire is a gamble.
Yeah.
If it had been your pal, Mr. Gruden, would have been a gamble.
Yes.
The best example of that is Arkansas went out and got a proven head coach that had won the Big Ten, Power 5.
I wanted him here.
And Brett Bielema had a worse run in Arkansas than Butch Jones did here. So much worse, actually. He didn't have 2 top 25 teams. So it's all a gamble. So to sit there and say there are questions about Jeremy Pruitt, that's not being negative. That's just being realistic. And I do think there are a lot of people. I talked to other people who thought, well, I'm not all in, and I do wonder how much of that is tied to I've gone all in the past and gotten burned by it, so I'm not going to go there now. Bobby,
eloquence is great, but when Butch Jones came in here, they had a meeting and had all of Letterman come in and everything. Everybody, heck, I was ready to go suit up and go play, and it just didn't happen. It didn't happen the way he was saying it was, and so if it, you got to prove it on the field, and that's the bottom line.
And part of the press conference thing too is I've never seen a coach at Tennessee lose press conference. Not the introductory press conference. Butch lost some later, which I'll also say, I'm like David. I don't care. I don't care about. I mean, you want a guy who's a great speaker, all right? Then you've just passed on Steve Spurrier because he's not exactly master of the King's English. Bum Phillips was pretty good for a long time, and he can take his and then beat yourn, and he can take yourn and beat his. Okay, well that's great.
And he had a mouthful of chewing tobacco and never spit.
Yeah, and then you had Derek Dooley, who was well spoken, and that didn't work.
Right.
But the interesting thing moving forward for this guy is you also look at the makeup of that staff. On paper, now I pointed that out during the show, I think people are whistling past the graveyard if they ignore the fact that next year you'll have a first-time head coach, first-time play caller on offense, and a first-time play caller on defense. That makes for a big that makes for 3 learning curves at once. Now the good thing is it's year 1 and it's going to be a rebuilding year anyway, so people who are wise are going to realize that. But overall, you look at the rest of that staff, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Southern Cal. Now you got 2 guys from Colorado State, but they've been in the SEC. One of them played in the SEC, and Will Friend has coached in the SEC. That staff, to me, is one of the biggest reasons to get more on board with this guy. If you had hired, and Brian Rice put this out on Twitter the other day, that was a good point. If you had hired a guy like Butch Jones or somebody from a smaller conference or whoever, most of those guys, Scott Frost just did this at Nebraska. He's taking his whole staff from UCF to Nebraska. Okay, you reward the guys that move with you, but would you rather have that kind of a staff, or would you rather have this staff he's putting together of people who know the Southeastern Conference?
Well, I've always, I felt it, I played it, and after becoming an adult and watching it, the Southeastern Conference is unlike any conference in football, period. So when you got guys, don't forget Tracy Rocker's on the staff too. And Tracy Rocker, he's coaching the SEC, and he was an awesome player for Auburn back in the day.
Hey, I'm glad y'all had to play against him.
Woo, he was a beast, and his brother David Rocker was another beast in the SEC. So they've got a lot of SEC experience, and these guys know how to win.
Tell me about this. Now, someone has asked that question to me, winning culture. Derek Dooley was part of winning cultures, but he couldn't build it here. I like the idea that this guy has been at Florida State, Georgia, Alabama. He's seen how good programs do it, and they all do it differently. Now, Fisher is also off the Saban tree, but these are different guys running things different ways. The interesting thing is what's he going to take from who? Because he can't just copy Saban. He can't just copy Fisher or Richt. It's going to be, I'll take this from Saban. Yeah, and what does he take from Fulmer? If Fulmer's sitting there saying, hey, this is the way it works at Tennessee, when you look at his winning culture, that he's been a part of all these cultures, does that really, can you take that and implement it somewhere else?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
you got to make it yours.
You got to make it yours. You got to make it yours.
That's the answer.
Say again?
Some people
can, some people can't.
Well, and I was going to put a caveat to your question. You said Dooley was part of a winning culture. Well, he was never part of a winning culture as a head coach. And where did he win? He won a little bit in college.
Only Jeremy Pruitt.
But Jeremy Pruitt has national championships as a coach.
Okay, but
Dooley didn't have that.
Well,
national championships. Champions know how to make champions.
The biggest thing for me is he talked about, you guys may have different expectations than me. And in that press conference, I said, oh boy, here we go. This is going to be interesting. Because I was waiting for him to say, like, you guys are going to expect us to win every game. But he didn't say that. No. He said, I expect us to win every game. And I see Coach Fulmer now talking about championships, being champions, not of life, but of the game of football, which he always talked about. When we warmed up, we did jumping jacks and we spelled out champions. That's everything we talked about. And now we've got a guy back in control that's what he's going to talk about, winning all his games, being championship. That he's setting the tone and the expectation for this coaching staff, talking about that. I'd take all these guys from the SEC, and he's going to set that guidance. That's his job. I like that.
Okay. So everybody, though, there's nobody that's down on the hire. I didn't expect that. You're not going to go all in. Sterling's so all in, he's broke. Bobby, you like it because of Phillip Fulmer?
I like it because of Phillip Fulmer leading the show.
All right, I think that's fair. And I like it because we had a list of 70 potential guys. Some of those we put on just to weed them out. But we wanted to show how crazy Tennessee hires usually go. It's never the guy you think it's going to be. And we had Jeremy Pruitt as the only assistant to make our top 10 list. Yeah. His resume, now it's all in the eye of the beholder. Mississippi State interviewed him, and they went with the offensive guy from Penn State. That's because they had an offensive success in Dan Mullen. And they're never going to recruit like the big boys, so you can't really depend on defense down there. So I think it's smart to have a scheme, an offensive guy. But when you look at his resume, arguably, it's the best in the country among all of the assistant coaches that were out there.
Awesome.
So I like that. I think they're all a gamble. They're especially a gamble if you don't have head coaching experience. But to me, this is a smart bet. It's a bet, but I see the reason they made it. I think it's a good one. Yeah. We'll see if we're back here in 3 years or 5 years talking about John Gruden again. All right. David Liggin, Sterling Hinton, Bobby Scott, thanks to all of you. Appreciate it. Have a good holiday season, you guys.
Y'all
do the same, brother.
All right, and same to you, and we'll see you next Sunday at 11 o'clock on WATE 6 for the Sports Source.